Imagine being locked away from society, watching time slowly fade through a barred window in your 8 by 8 cell, then being tossed back into life, expected to adjust and adapt to your new settings when nothing is how it used to be. While it might sound easy to get a job and get back on your feet, research shows us otherwise. Professors at Simons University write that within 3 years of release, 67.8% of ex offenders are rearrested, and within 5 years, 76.6% are rearrested. As an active supporter of the Sentencing Project, a prison reform nonprofit organization, I am well versed of the issues that convicts face both inside of prisons as well as their life when they get out. It is very evident that the prison system within the United States needs to be reformed. Due to overpopulation and therefore resulting in health concerns, as well as a system that focuses on punishments rather than rehabilitation, the prison system we currently have in the United States is flawed, and something must be done to fix this problem. The problem with our prison system today can be broken down into two main categories: life beyond once the prisons are released, and life inside of the prison. Since 1978, our prison population in the United States has increased 390%, which equates to over 1.5 million people. Hundreds and thousands of inmates are released each year from federal and state prisons, and many of these individuals struggle to adjust to life outside of their cell. When released from prisons, former convicts face many challenges such as unemployment, lack of social skills, low self-esteem, and substance abuse. All these obstacles make a fragile person unequipped to become successful in the real world because they were so disconnected for so long. More than not, this transition is hard for ex-offenders to handle, and they end back in prison. The prison system does a terrible job of preparing inmates to assimilate back into society, as well as providing them resources to prepare them for release. It is a never-ending vicious cycle. Another issue with the increase of the prison population is the health concerns associated with the prison system, both mentally and physically. Sadly, in many cases, mental health issues are not addressed in prisons, and many of these inmates are forced to spend their duration of their sentences dealing with mental health problems. Today, somewhere between 15 and 20% of people in prisons are mentally ill, according to the U.S. Department of Justice. Not only are the individuals with these mental illnesses not getting the help or treatment they need, their conditions may become worse from the prison environment. The lack of society, overcrowding, violence, and isolation can all have negative effects on the mental health of anybody, with or without pre-existing mental health conditions. The physical health of individuals in prisons is also a concerning factor, especially in the United States. Overcrowding and tightly packed prison populations can be hotspots for diseases and sickness. The United Nations states that health conditions deteriorate in prisons, which are overcrowded, where nutrition is poor, sanitation, and access to fresh water and exercise often unavailable. These conditions can lead to short-term or chronic health conditions. Along with poor living conditions that American prisons provide, violence is another physical health threat. Violence is a daily occurrence in prisons, and many factors play into why violence occurs within prisons. Some of these result from poor management, rivalries, disputes, and mental health conditions. Prisons can be very dangerous and violent places and can have an everlasting effect on an individual's well-being. Before we analyze the solutions to assist in the dire need for prison reform, we need to take a step back and look at the causes. It is clearly evident that the need for prison reform stems from two major causes: the war on drugs and institutionalized racism in the form of mass incarceration. There are also a few barriers making the solution to this problem even more difficult to obtain. In the mid-1990s, the United States launched the war on drugs. This included harsher sentencing for possession and distribution charges, unwarranted probable cause body searches, and increased paroling of high-traffic neighborhoods. Ultimately, this led to the disproportional arrest rate of minority groups, and we filled our prison. An analysis by Brookings Institution found that there were more than 3 million admissions to prison from drug offenses between 1993 and 2009 in the United States, and people of color discrimination of every stage in the judicial system, and we are more likely to be stopped, searched, arrested, convicted, harshly sentenced, and saddled with a lifelong criminal record, according to the Drug Policy Alliance. The end result of the $1 trillion project was enormous levels of imprisonment, unstabilizing minorities by targeting them, and excessive punishment for nonviolent crimes. This is one of the main reasons why our prisons are so overpopulated. Unfortunately, this is a problem that will take a lot for change to happen since it has been rooted in our country's prison system. This problem has not been solved for three main reasons. One, the stigma behind the threat of drugs and people using drugs has not fully subsided. Two, it costs a lot of money to reform prisons, and not many people like to raise their taxes for something that they do not fully understand. And three, with that being said, it is the lack of awareness on this specific issue. The lack of the awareness is what has led to the spread and growth of prison injustice. Most people don't have daily interactions with prisoners and former inmates, and for that reason, not many people are aware of the injustice that is being incurred inside of the prisons in the United States. Even though barriers may look slightly overwhelming, there are still many solutions available to start to remedy this issue and hopefully one day solve it. Both an increased awareness of the injustices happening inside of our prisons, as well as institutionalized shift to rehabilitation rather than punishment for nonviolent crimes, is the best solution to the problem at hand. Exposure of this issue, by its very nature, is one of the best solutions to date. The Sentencing Project, one of the largest nonprofit prison reform organizations, writes on their main website a call to action. Help end mass incarceration by letting your representatives know that you stand responsible criminal justice policies. The more people talk and share this issue to the media and their friends, the more social pressure this government would receive to reform their prisons. In addition to prison systems need to rehabilitate nonviolent prisoners, not force them to severe punishment, the Legislative Analyst Office of California argues that research shows that a rehabilitation program generally is more effective at reducing relapse, which is when convicted criminals reoffend. If we started helping inmates rather than punishing them, less people would be in the prison system and our society would be much more productive. You could take action and make an impact on prison reform by going to the website sentencingproject.org and signing up to get email updates about their current action items and how you can help. A lot of these projects revolve around prison reform. Educating yourself and others and making your voice heard can have a tremendous effects on the future of American prisons. As more people hear about this issue, more pressure will be on the state governments to make a change, and we as a society will then be able to see those changes, help and change nonviolent prisoners. Overall, the way our prison system is currently set up is detrimental to our society and must be reformed. Because of the war on drugs and mass incarceration causing overpopulation of prisons, leading to health and safety concerns, as well as the system itself focusing on punishing the inmates, which causes them to struggle adapting to life outside of prison. And that is why our system needs to be reformed. So as you go out and look for summer jobs and go home to a nice healthcare plan, remember the people who are struggling to adjust to a brand new life all on their own, trying to get enough money to find a place to live after enduring a grueling, inhumane prison stay. Thank you.